Ever since I was a little kid watching my older brother play Resident Evil on the original PlayStation, staining the back of my underwear, watching zombie dogs bust through windows. I gotta admit, it's a fear that's always in the back of my mind, and why they're my favorite form of monsters. The idea that your friends and family, the people you love and fight alongside, are a single bite away from switching teams and joining the undead horde. And the even more messed up part, if you are that rare percentage that is immune, something as simple as sharing a drink or kissing someone could spread the virus to them, while you remain unharmed. That's a form of infection called carrier, or being asymptomatic, meaning you can pass a virus that you're unaware you even have. But a virus isn't the only way a person could become a zombie. In fact, there are many theoretical possibilities for you or someone you love to become the zombie that ate the neighbors.
I understood that reference.
Imagine an organism that takes over your body, rewires your brain, and forces you to walk toward your death so it can spread itself further. Sounds like something out of a George Romero flick, right? But that's exactly what Cordyceps fungi do in nature. And they've been doing it long before humans walked the earth. Cordyceps are a genus of parasitic fungi that target insects, particularly ants. When an ant is infected by Cordyceps spores, the fungus begins to grow inside its body, eventually reaching its brain. There, it manipulates the ant's behavior, forcing it to climb vegetation, anchor itself to a leaf or branch, and wait. Then the fungus erupts from the ant's body, releasing more spores into the air to find the next unlucky victim. What makes Cordyceps truly horrifying is the precision with which they take control. Scientists have studied how the fungus doesn't actually destroy the brain, it hijacks it. It leaves the ant's motor functions intact, but reprograms the decision-making center so the ant becomes a willing puppet. This isn't random aggression, it's strategic manipulation. And each species of Cordyceps is finely tuned to control a specific type of insect, making it one of the most specialized parasites on Earth. It's this level of precision that has fascinated and frightened scientists, and inspired fictional zombies like the ones in The Last of Us, which features a mutated Cordyceps fungus that jumps from insects to humans. So, could a fungus like Cordyceps infect humans? As of now, Cordyceps can't survive the internal environment of a human body. We're too warm, and our immune systems are too complex, but fungi are remarkably adaptable. In fact, with rising global temperatures due to climate change, scientists have speculated that fungi could evolve to thrive in higher temperatures, potentially putting mammals, including us, on the menu. Fungal infections are already on the rise globally, and some experts worry that it's only a matter of time before we see a more aggressive, human-infecting species emerge. Even if a human variant of Cordyceps were to exist, it wouldn't necessarily make people into classic brain-eating zombies. But the idea of a pathogen that hijacks our behavior, makes us lose control, act against our will, or spread it to others, is very real. It would more likely resemble a mass behavioral shift or neurological disorder than the undead ghouls of Hollywood. Still, watching an infected insect behave like a mindless drone under fungal control is unsettling enough to imagine a similar fate in humans. Cordyceps shows us that nature doesn't need the supernatural to create horror. It's already mastered the art of mind control, weaponized biology, and slow, creeping death. We may not be facing a fungus-fueled apocalypse tomorrow, but the building blocks are there. With the way we genetically modify foods and disrupt the environment, once Cordyceps makes the jump from one species, it won't be long until it does it again, and again, until one day, your next-door neighbor goes from being a fun guy to just fungi.
Jimmy, stay back! Jimmy, I am warning you!
Oh my God.
Don't!
When people ask what a real-life zombie virus would look like, scientists often point to one that's been around for centuries: rabies. Rabies is a viral infection that affects the central nervous system, ultimately causing brain inflammation and death if left untreated. It spreads primarily through bites, and its symptoms include confusion, agitation, hallucinations, hydrophobia, hypersalivation, and aggression. Sound familiar? In many ways, rabies is already the closest thing we have to a natural zombie virus. The terrifying thing about rabies is that it manipulates behavior in a way that feels distinctly cinematic. As the virus progresses, it effectively destroys the brain's ability to regulate emotion and behavior. Infected animals, and sometimes humans, become erratic, violent, and prone to biting, which just happens to be the virus' primary method of transmission. It's as if the virus evolved to make its host a vector for spreading chaos. Once symptoms begin, there is almost no chance of survival. Rabies has a near 100% fatality rate after symptom onset, making it one of the deadliest viruses known to humanity. Rabies is, of course, treatable if caught early. But what if it mutated? Viruses constantly evolve, and while rabies is stable compared to some other viruses, a single mutation could change how it spreads. Right now, you'd need to be bitten to contract rabies, but if it ever adapted to become airborne or bloodborne, something not entirely impossible in the realm of virology, it could spread much faster, especially in densely populated urban areas. A more contagious rabies strain could, in theory, spark widespread panic and breakdowns in societal order, especially if the infected displayed aggressive, erratic behavior. There have been theoretical studies exploring what a rabies-like outbreak might look like if it became more contagious. The results are chilling. A delayed incubation period, like the one rabies already has, could allow infected people to travel and spread the virus before anyone notices. And if that virus included symptoms like hallucinations, rage, and confusion, it wouldn't take long for the term zombie to enter public discourse. People wouldn't have to die and rise again for it to be considered a zombie apocalypse. Just imagine thousands of infected individuals attacking others at random in a city without warning. So while rabies doesn't turn people into literal walking corpses, it offers a terrifying glimpse into how a virus could manipulate behavior, spread through violence, and trigger societal collapse. It's the real-world blueprint for fast-moving, infection-based zombie stories like 28 Days Later or World War Z. Rest assured, you'd still get a call Monday morning from your boss, wanting to know if you're coming in or not. And knowing our government, you'll have to pay your taxes. In 2012, headlines around the world exploded with a story that seemed ripped from a horror movie. A man in Miami attacked and made a snack of a man's face, all in broad daylight. The attacker was allegedly under the influence of a drug named bath salts, a term for synthetic cathinones, man-made stimulants designed to mimic drugs like meth. The attack was so savage and inexplicable that the media immediately jumped on the idea of a real-life zombie outbreak. And while later reports showed the assailant may not have actually been on bath salts, the damage was done. The term zombie drug stuck. Bath salts and similar synthetic drugs can induce extreme paranoia, hallucinations, hyperaggression, and a complete detachment from reality. In some cases, users feel no pain, lose the ability to speak coherently, and exhibit animalistic behavior. Law enforcement has encountered individuals under these drugs who seem almost superhuman in strength and resistance to tasers or pepper spray. These drugs don't kill and reanimate the dead, but they can mimic many of the behavioral hallmarks of cinematic zombies. What makes drug-induced psychosis so terrifying is how rapidly it can take hold. Users can go from lucid to violent in moments, and because these substances are often unregulated, their exact chemical makeup is unpredictable. One batch might cause euphoria, another could cause homicidal rage. This unpredictability turns each user into a potential wild card, a ticking time bomb, and in dense urban environments, even a handful of such cases can cause mass panic. The bath salt scare proved how quickly the public and media could link bizarre, violent behavior to the zombie trope. It showed that under the right circumstances, a violent drug outbreak, a few grisly attacks, and a dose of media hysteria, we could easily fall into the belief that the apocalypse had begun. Imagine a synthetic drug designed not for highs but for disruption. A substance created to induce rage, destroy empathy, and spread chaos. The implications for bioterrorism or social collapse are enormous. In a world increasingly experimenting with mood-altering substances, from nootropics to psychedelics, it's not that far-fetched to imagine a chemical formula that goes horribly wrong. Whether it's accidental or intentional, the idea of a rage-inducing, behavior-altering drug becoming widespread adds another layer to the real-world plausibility of a zombie scenario. We don't need the dead to rise, just for enough people to lose their grip on reality all at once. There is a video online about a man who took an unknown drug and has been feeling its strong effects for months on end. It's possible that a drug could bind to certain receptors in the brain and simply refuse to let go. Just imagine, the next time you pop a Chiba Chew expecting a 7-hour relaxing trip, it instead drags you into a 7-year nightmare. This is exactly what happened to a 21-year-old man. According to a detailed case report published in Curious, he took an unknown dose of LSD 7 months earlier and has since experienced ongoing flashbacks and perceptual disturbances consistent with hallucinogen persisting perception disorder, HPPD. What was meant to be a fun night turned into a nightmare. That was back in 2019, and as of the latest information, there's no public record that he has fully recovered from HPPD. Whether he's still out there enduring a waking nightmare, or if he achieved a brutal, bad trip-induced sobriety, remains unknown. In theory, a drug like this could be created. One that doesn't just make you see wavy colors, but instead makes everyone around you look like human Lunchables? In the modern age, the scariest zombie scenario may not come from nature. It might come from us. With the rise of gene editing technologies like CRISPR, synthetic biology, and AI-powered experimentation, scientists can now manipulate DNA with unprecedented precision. This means we have the ability not only to cure diseases, but to create them. While most of this research is geared toward medical progress, the same tools could be used to engineer a virus that alters behavior, spreads rapidly, or even targets specific neurological functions. The idea of an engineered zombie virus isn't just science fiction. It's been modeled in actual government simulations. Agencies like DARPA have explored the potential use of bioweapons that can affect cognition and mood. These aren't reanimated corpses. They're more like the infected in 28 days later, fast, violent, and biologically alive. In the wrong hands, or through an accidental lab leak, the release of such a virus could spark chaos. We've already seen how ill-prepared the world was for COVID-19, a relatively mild virus compared to the apocalyptic potential of something tailored to induce aggression or strip away rational thought. In 2018, researchers controversially created an airborne strain of H5N1, an avian flu that could transmit between ferrets. Just to prove it was possible, critics warned that the knowledge alone could be dangerous if misused. This shows that even with good intentions, scientific curiosity can tread dangerously close to catastrophe. The blueprint for something that resembles a zombie virus, highly contagious, neuroinvasive, and behavior-altering, is not as far out of reach as we'd like to think. One chilling idea is the concept of a neuroweapon, a virus that hijacks the brain to cause widespread confusion, fear, or violence. It wouldn't even have to infect the whole population. Just a small percentage of infected individuals causing chaos in public spaces could trigger martial law, economic collapse, and societal breakdown. Fear spreads faster than any pathogen, and that fear is what fuels the zombie mythos. So could a zombie virus be made in a lab? Something like a pathogen that mimics the effects of zombification is not only plausible, it may already be within our scientific grasp. Whether it emerges through malicious intent, reckless experimentation, or simple human error, the next global crisis could have more in common with horror films than we care to admit. And that's what makes it so terrifying. But with the right engineering and weaponizing, like in the movie Quarantine, such an aggressive form of a virus could be created. Governments like to develop such mutated viruses to create beta vaccines as a just-in-case scenario, so that if someone were to weaponize it, there would already be a defense. So, though it isn't publicly known, there could already be a vial just sitting in a lab refrigeration unit, holding a fluid that seals humanity's fate. But maybe zombies ain't the worst outcome of this. Virus engineering is a very real thing. So, what if someone made an immortal form of the rhinovirus? Could you imagine being sick with a cold, but for the rest of your life? I'd take being a blissfully unaware brain-dead zombie over eternally feeling like I was the walking dead for the rest of my days. With advancing technology like nanotech and Elon Musk's Neuralink, the idea of a zombie outbreak doesn't have to rely on viruses or parasites. It could spread like a computer virus, digital malware hijacking the human brain. Because here's the thing, there's no such thing as a 100% secure program. Every system, hardware or software, has vulnerabilities, a backdoor, a flaw that can be exploited. And when we start plugging our nervous systems directly into machines, we are opening the door to a whole new breed of infection. Engineered, digital, and invisible. Biohacking isn't science fiction anymore. It's not a question of if, but when. Consider Conficker, a self-spreading computer worm that infected millions of machines globally. It still exists today, dormant in many systems. It's a hard-to-kill virus though. It does very little, and removing it would be costly, time-consuming and largely pointless. But it spreads, quietly, persistently. It can even sit on an offline machine, only to wake up and infect an entire new network once it reconnects. Now, imagine that same concept applied to the human body. Then there's smart dust, an experimental nanotech concept made up of microscopic sensors or robots. In theory, you could breathe it in without ever knowing. These nanobots could enter your bloodstream, cross the blood-brain barrier, and replicate. Not just observing your body, but eventually controlling it. Some futurists and conspiracy theorists believe that once inside, these microscopic machines could hijack your motor functions. You'd become a passenger in your own body, watching helplessly as you perform actions against your will. That's not just paranoia. Neural implants and nanotech, once designed to help the blind see or the paralyzed walk, could be turned inside out by malicious code. A cyber attack targeting such implants could effectively zombify a person. Not in the classic undead sense, but in behavior. Mass behavioral control through code, commands sent wirelessly, a hive mind activated not by disease but by Bluetooth. It gets worse. Some theorize that in the future, nanobots could be used to reanimate corpses, linking together inside a dead body, mimicking nerve impulses and causing the body to move, even if only in a shaky, animalistic way, enough to spread the nanobot swarm to a new host. It wouldn't be a virus. It wouldn't be demonic possession. It would be a swarm intelligence using meat as a vehicle. We always imagine zombies as supernatural or viral, but maybe the scariest version is one built by us. Through ambition, neglect, and unchecked innovation. You might not need to die to become one. You just need to connect, or simply accept an update. For example, in the video game Deus Ex Mankind Divided, the main character Adam Jensen is an augmented agent. At a point in the story, you're offered a new firmware update for your augmentations, which seems like a stability improvement, but it's later revealed to contain a hidden vulnerability or kill switch designed to weaken or control augmented individuals. Some characters who refuse the update, or just couldn't afford it, are ultimately better off when that hidden backdoor is triggered and exploited. So before you go full Cyberpunk 2077 and trade in your normal eyes for a shiny set of Kiroshi optics, think twice. You might just be opening yourself up to becoming someone's zombie puppet. The concept of zombies has long fascinated and terrified us, but what's scarier than any film or game is how close reality can get to fiction. Whether it's a fungus manipulating insects, a virus like rabies driving aggression, a common parasite influencing our behavior, synthetic drugs unleashing chaos, or scientists unlocking powers they can't fully control. Each piece of the puzzle exists in our world. None of them recreate zombies exactly as we know them from pop culture, but when you combine behavior alteration, viral contagion, and the capacity for mass disruption, the result is chillingly similar. What makes the zombie concept so resilient is not just its grotesque imagery. It's what it says about control, the fear of losing autonomy. The scariest part? A zombie apocalypse may not start with sirens or explosions. It could start with a few people acting strange, A behavioral shift here, a violent outburst there, and by the time we understand what's happening, it might already be too late. The truth is, zombies aren't entirely imaginary anymore. Ask yourself, if the outbreak started right now, would you even recognize it? Or would you just think it was another strange news story? With the world getting crazier by the day, rapid news updates readily available at tips of our fingers, and social media leaching into every aspect of modern life, one thing's for sure, the zombie outbreak will be a hashtag on Twitter long before they're shambling down your street. So, I know that this isn't normal. Normally I just give you guys a quick sign off saying to have a good weekend and all. And you may have noticed that this isn't the normal type of content that I give you guys, but that there's a very special reason for that, and I like to vent about it right now. There are these movie studios, and the type of videos that I do, all the studios are A-okay with it. But YouTube and Lionsgate seem to have this weird thing that they're special. They're snowflakes. The rules and laws of fair use don't apply to them, apparently. Even though right now you can go into the search bar, type in the name of this particular movie, and it's available right now for free on multiple fucking channels. Yet, me doing what I'm supposed to do, chopping it up into clips, my 20-minute review, which is fully fair use, gets a copyright strike. So, I'm gonna have to be extra cautious over the next 90 fucking days. Thanks, Lionsgate. Thank you. I am never, ever covering a Lionsgate movie again. I don't care if I get to be like big time, like I have 1 million subscribers and Lionsgate's come knocking at my door. Could you do a movie review of us? I'm gonna tell them, fuck you. Get off my porch. Okay, I'm done ranting. I'm gonna probably say something I'm gonna regret. So, yeah, the next 90 days, I guess we're gonna have a little bit of an experimental time here until about September 26th. 3 days before my birthday. Fall. So, I guess stay tuned because there's gonna be some new stuff. I fucking hate the internet.